from end to end?
No, just by measurement-wise, I have enough for 50.
So there'd be enough 50 from one end of the
From one
grandstand
end of
to
the
the
bleachers
other?
to the other, yes.
Now, is there a particular reason why you want to limit to 35? Is that to try to appease people? or-
I believe so. That was for the first year to see how it went.
Okay, I'm just curious. I mean,
Yeah.
if we agree to do it, that if you could sell more than 35 and do the 50, I don't know why we'd limit ourselves. But I'm just throwing that out there. I know there's a lot of discussion to take place.
Yeah, I
but it
think
just
a lot of
seems-
it was because discussion with everybody saying maybe it was too much, so we backed off
All right.
and maybe leave those spaces
But
for.
if we're going to do it, I mean, 50,000 is better than 35,000.
Absolutely.
So just to clarify, the Hillview didn't give you an estimate of the number that they wanted to see?
No,
The
excuse me.
35 is arbitrary?
When we went, I'm sorry, Marty. Let me just say, when,
That was during the meeting, okay.
right, so when we went from the athletic sub, the initial one, where I was able to make it, and I wasn't able to make the second one, we talked about, as a pilot program, doing fewer than we could actually fit and see how it looks. So when we went to Hillview, the number we used was 35 also.
Curious. Just curious.
So that's why. Would we like to do 50 if the program takes off and it approves? Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think one other thing I wanted to point out is that this would also allow for half a dozen or so signs that were school and town related. So you might have if it's lacrosse season, you might have NRHS lacrosse up there. You might have something from the town up there.
Maybe a school announcement.
School announcements, things like that would also be allowed up on the same location. And so, we're talking about, there's, the front of the grandstands, there's two levels. There's the lower fence, and then there's the fence that goes above, that's the railing. We're not talking about any signs up on the railing right now. We're talking the lower front of the.
To the track
of the
level.
grandstands, right. So if you want to pass that around.
He's filming it.
Marty, was it Rita's idea to put the ugly storage pods out there to force us into having
Actually, we are gonna.
They are ugly,
We are,
yes.
we are painting them the color, the green of the scoreboard. But that's not gonna happen.
I will say that, yeah.
That won't happen till
You
spring.
can paint them whatever color you want, those.
Yeah, no, that's the plan.
They detract from the
Yeah.
field.
That's the
right
plan,
now.
but I had to go in front of the town administrator to get permission to do that. We're using volunteers, so it had to go through there, and now it's too cold, so that's gonna be done in the spring.
I've never noticed them, honestly.
Any other questions from the committee at this time? Because what I was going to do is ask for anybody from the public who wants to come up and speak, and then ask us questions, and then the committee can have its discussion among itself. So if anybody out there wishes to be heard, please raise your hand. Oh, hold on, sorry. Mike?
What are your priorities on this list as you bring the income in? Because 35,000 is not a lot to finish this list here.
First thing is gonna be the lights, that warranty on the lights.
They extended us a 2-year commitment to raise the money for that.
We have about 6 months left on that,
Okay.
and then we lose the maintenance agreement at the price we would get it.
Okay.
Anybody like to speak? If you would like to speak, please come up to the. Okay. Just state your name and address, and then.
Hi, I'm Barbara Thorstad, 1 Tarbox Lane. Just in general, I wanted to say that I'm totally in support of the pilot program. I think Parks and Rec really does a good job of remaining tasteful and true to the community, as in evidence of that beautiful brick walkway that they're doing. I mean, there's nothing more tasteful that you can do to raise money and yet be subtle. And I feel naive because I came here thinking that these signs were going to be out on the fence right next to 62, which was people's main objection. And actually for the advertisers, who I hope are not listening, but basically, they're farther away. And, when I'm driving on 62, you're looking for kids from the Batchelder, Ryers traffic, you're watching the road. I mean, that's a long distance for advertising. And so it's great that we can make a little money if we can. And yet it's not, it's not in your face, so to speak. and having kids that are on travel programs, so to speak, and going to neighboring communities really all around, the New England area as we do with our kids with sports, I can see that this is the benchmark, the reasonable and customary way to go. It just seems like I understand those who feel like it might diminish our New England community look and that type thing, but on a sports field, basically if you drove through North Reading, I feel like people would look and say, wow, good for them, look at them, the great turf field, tasteful advertising, understanding that that's what needs to be done to keep up and even maintain in this, economic climate. So I just wanted to say I'm in full support of Parks and Rec and hope that this works out for the community, because I think it could be a win all over, and it's a great opportunity to at least pilot it, and you can tweak it and go from there, but it seems like a great thing.
Are
Thank
you
you.
related to Rita in any way?
No.
Thank you so much.
Can we get someone over here who wanted to make a comment? Thanks.
Not after this, I won't. Good evening. My name is Sarah Ralph, and some of you I know from other committees that I've served on. My husband and I have lived in town for about 12 years. I live at 48 Lindor Road, and we have 3 children in the school system. And some of you may have read, I submitted an article, a letter to the editor to this transcript that was published in the spring, expressing my definite opposition to the plan that's being proposed. I continue to feel that going down this slippery slope is just kind of beginning to open up a Pandora's box, no matter how tastefully it's done. Once you start down this road, there really is no turning back. When a revenue stream is generated, you become immediately dependent on it, and it becomes a part of the bottom line. I know this is being discussed as a pilot program. I guess what's not clear to me is how success is going to be measured at the end of this. Is success simply that we've generated the funds, or will there be a way to measure some intangible things, such as just the aesthetic effect that it has on the community? I think this needs to be thought through. And definitely, if we go down this road, a precedent will be set. And a framework will be put in place to begin accepting advertising in any public space. The town common could become a candidate, if not Riverside Cemetery, where we certainly have a captive audience to advertising. I bristle when I hear that aesthetics are not an important concern for the field. I think aesthetics were a major point of discussion for most of the best projects that have been accomplished in town during the 12 years that we've lived here, including the renovation of the Batch, the renovation of Ryers, the lighting in the historic district. And I think we need to pay equal attention to aesthetic matters of the turf field, which will be enjoyed by many people, hopefully for generations. Conversely, when I look at something like the Benevento Park, which is a terrific facility, which is fabulously maintained by Parks and Rec, I think that aesthetics have really become less of a priority. If you go there during the height of baseball season, it is plastered with sponsorship banners to the point where, to be honest, in my opinion, it kind of looks like a flea market, and I think it really detracts from the experience of being at the field. And I think this is not something we want to have happen to the Kennedy Field, a facility that's in the center of our town. I'm also troubled when I hear that members of the committee state that advertising doesn't negatively impact children. I think there are now numerous reputable and longitudinal studies, such as the one by the American Association of Pediatrics, which show a clear correlation between advertising and all kinds of undesirable outcomes, including depression, childhood obesity, low self-esteem, and behavior problems. All of us are subjected to roughly 3,000 advertisements every day in various forms from various media. While it's easy to throw up our hands and say that there's nothing we can do about it, I truly believe that this is one occasion where we should be grateful to the school committee of 1987, who were wise enough to realize that advertising, especially on school property, should not be something that we stoop to. Our children and all of us deserve a world where not everything is for sale. Thank you.
That was a little too well thought out.
I did want to just address one issue that you brought up, which was how we will measure this. We did discuss that at the athletic subcommittee meeting, And, one of my recommendations tonight would be, if this was approved, a year from now, in December of 2011, we come back here, invite the community back, get feedback as to what they thought of the signs. Maybe the school committee might sit down and say, we really didn't like the way it turned out. Maybe they won't be able to sell the signs from the rec department. But so to try to measure the aesthetics in terms of inviting the community in, as we did tonight. We normally don't open school committee meetings up to have comments from the audience during our discussions, but I think we thought it was important that we do that. So in addition to measuring the success of how many banners were they able to sell, what did the town think of it? How did it look? What did the business people think of it? What did the Hillview Commission think of it? So those would be some of the things that we would look at when we evaluated it a year from now. Someone else over here, and I'll get to you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Marty Johnson from 9 Oscars Way. And I, too, am not in favor of the proposal tonight. I'm not necessarily opposed to advertising. I think rec committee and the school committee and most of the work that's been done is tasteful, and I think you'll be sensitive to what's appropriate for students to see and not to see with regards to obesity issues and things. I have respect for you in that issue. However, I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing to the center of our town to have the signage there. I was hoping you were going to tell me it was up the sides and across the back, where only people coming to the fields or the schools would see these signs. You would not see them from 62 or Haverhill Street. I think that might even be more enticing to the advertisers because it would be more visible. The only way to see this right now really is going to be either if you're on the playing field or on Route 62. Not sure how much appeal that's going to have to advertisers. So I would strongly encourage you to reconsider the location of the signs, put them in a place that might be more appropriate to the aesthetics of the town and also more saleable to the marketers. Excuse me.
We understand.
Thank you. More marketable. That's the answer. Thank you.
Pat?
I just want to say I love you before you talk.
I didn't prepare anything. Patricia Romeo, I come here as a private citizen, not as a member of the Planning Commission or the Historic Commission, so it's my own opinion. But, and I always have a lot of opinions, sorry to say, and some of you know what they are already. However, I have been really upset of late about the visual pollution, not just in this town, but all around. I think Mass Highway has trying to make work for a lot of people and putting signs everywhere, and you're approaching the next intersection and so forth. And you know, too, that we spent, when I was on the Historic District Commission, we spent several years trying to get the batch into some kind of a form that would be acceptable for historic purposes. And I think eventually, when all the dust settled, it turned out good enough to get an award from Mass Historic Commission. So it was probably worth all of the battles in the long run.
Even though you took us kicking and screaming all the way, Pat, right?
And going on from that, there were several other things. Among them, the money that we managed to squeeze out of the state to bury the wires in the center of town. And that was a 3-year battle to get that. We worked probably 2 years to get the design for the lighting, street lighting, along the historic district. So investing that much time to get the center of the town what we really wanted it to be and remain was so important in the minds of so many people, and from the feedback that we were constantly getting from the old timers and from the newer people that were moving to town. So we kept that in mind all the time. one of the things that I had done walking with Dave Hanlon in front of Flint Memorial Hall, the present library, I said, Dave, there are 12 signs